Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51% show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, how International Women's Day 2017 became even more relevant in the era of Donald Trump and with the rise of the far right in Europe. Also, we speak to Indian director Alankrita Shrivastava, whose film on 4 strong women was banned by the country's censorship board. Toss those high heels out. The UK Parliament calls on companies to refrain from insisting female employees wear high heels to work. But first, and on March the 8th, people across the world marked International Women's Day. This year, for instance, more than 50 countries got involved in the first ever global women's strike, with hundreds of thousands staying away from the workplace for the day in a show of solidarity while calling for global equality. Yet this year's activities took on even greater importance with the election of Donald Trump in the States and the growing popularity of far-right politicians here in Europe who are threatening to roll back reproductive rights.
Women's rights are human rights.
Making their presence known at the White House and their absence known at work. These women are taking part in an international strike this 8th of March with partners in over 50 countries, from Italy to the Philippines. Organisers called on women supporting them not to carry out paid or unpaid work. Protesters gathered outside EU institutions in Brussels. Some focused on women's rights in Poland, where the government plans to tighten already strict limits on abortion.
We want to have the full access to contraception, to emergency contraception. We want to have the abortions legal and safe.
In the Polish capital, a crowd hoped to pass on the same message. And in Ukraine, counter-protesters had to be held back by police, highlighting divisions over gender equality in the country.
It is often invisible. It takes place in families, in hospitals, at work. There are a lot of spheres where women face violence and discrimination.
Thousands of Kurdish women took to the streets of Diyarbakir, demanding their rights in Turkey, where President Tayyip Recep Erdogan had previously said gender equality goes against nature and equated birth control to treason.
Women are murdered and raped. Perpetrators are not brought to account. These crimes are legalized. Women are always found guilty. Why was she out at night? Why has she dressed that way? Women are taught to be passive.
It's the first year such a widespread strike has been organised for International Women's Day, a burst of energy for the long path ahead to establish global equality. The World Economic Forum predicts that at the current rate, the gender gap won't close for another 169 years.
Now to India, where the censorship board has blocked the release of an award-winning Indian film with a feminist slant. The reason? Well, according to the censors, the tale of 4 feisty women in a small town is, quote, lady-oriented, has sexual scenes and audio pornography. Let's take a look at a clip from Lipstick Under My Burkha.
पल तो हर लड़की की लाइफ में आता है जब उसमें औरत बनने की चाहत जाग उठती है। पर्दे बड़े मोटे थे, अंधेरे में रोजी को कोई देख नहीं पाता।
लाइफ में सिर्फ बच्चे ही पैदा करने हैं या कुछ और भी प्लान है तुम्हारा?
खंडहर से घर के एक बंद कमरे में रोजी कैद थी।
जसपाल रोजी को देखना चाहता हूँ।
जसपाल रोजी को रोज देख सकता है, सपने में।
सपने में?
लिपस्टिक वाले सपने।
लाली चढ़ी होठों पे, ख्वाबों के गुलाब की, चाली चढ़ी आंखों पे, चाहत में।
And I'm thrilled to say that joining me now in the studio is the film's director, Alankrita Shrivastava. Thank you so much for coming in, Alankrita. First of all, tell me, how did the film come about?
Well, I actually wanted to explore the feeling that I always had, and I guess I still deal with, is that I'm not fully free from inside. So even though I feel like they're not, external restraints on my freedom and on my life, but that feeling of being chained from within. So that's something I wanted to explore through these 4 women who actually also have external constraints in their lives. So this whole thing of wanting to be free but finding that you're not fully free.
Did you have any idea that the censorship board was going to do what it did?
No, I had no idea at all because there have been a few films in the last couple of years that have dealt with women and sexuality in like some sort of way. So I was quite confident that, we'll just get an adult certificate and that's that. So I had no idea that they'll actually refuse certification altogether.
Have you had any personal dealings with them as a result of this?
I did. I met them at both the screenings that we had. The first screening that we had, in fact, that first committee, they told me that they felt that the film was a very hard-hitting film about the reality of Indian women. But they said, we are a divided house and we're going to get back to you in writing. And when they got back to me in writing is when they said that they're going to refuse certification because the film is too lady-oriented.
Is there any way it can be overturned?
Yeah. So there is a procedure and we are working towards it. So there's something called the tribunal, the FCAT in New Delhi. So we are preparing the case to get the decision overturned. And also there's the courts after that. So luckily, there is recourse to things that we can do.
It is somewhat hypocritical, isn't it, when you think of India and particularly the Bollywood film industry, which is producing so many hyper-sexualised films, that they took umbrage with what you were doing with this independent film.
Yeah, I think definitely they have double standards, and I feel like what they're trying to do is push a particular kind of narrative, which is really films which have a very strong male gaze, where women are kind of objectified and really portrayed in ways that just fulfill the desires and the ideas that men have about women. And I feel the reason they've reacted to my film is because it's a film with a very strong female point of view. So it's not just that there are female protagonists, but it's like there's a very intimate telling of their stories in the way they see it. And there's a sort of agency that they're trying to gain over their own bodies and their own desires and their own dreams. So I feel it's the point of view, I think, which is really bothered the censor board, because I think they're okay with sexual content as long as it's shown in a way to just fulfill, what men want.
But this is also a country that is full of very strong women, people like yourself. And yet again, it shows the disconnect that exists in India, where you do have, very strong female. But on the other hand, you have massive problems with sexual harassment and sexual violence.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a very deeply patriarchal country, and I feel like it's really tough, like being on the streets in cities like Delhi especially, and I feel there is a lot of violence against women, and I feel especially because of that we need a sort of culture where, there's space for women's voices and women's stories. But obviously the government body doesn't seem to think so. But I also feel like perhaps this is a moment of it's that time when we really need to wake up and smell the coffee and be like, we can't let this go on, because if India is truly a democratic country and the constitution promises freedom of expression as well as gender equality, then we have to make that sort of freedom and that equality real for ourselves. And I feel that this kind of a decision by the censor board is absolutely like striking a blow to women's rights, and especially women's right to sort of, express themselves freely. So I do feel that the dichotomy is very, very strong, because there are women like me, and I feel like what's happened is that a lot of them are really speaking out, and they're really giving me a lot of support. And I feel like everybody's feeling this sense of anger that, how can the censor board just try and muffle and stifle women's voices?
Alankrita, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Alankrita Shrivastava is here in Paris attending the International Women's Film Festival in Créteil. And in a case of you'd think they would know better by now, a new publicity campaign featuring painfully thin models in degrading poses for the French fashion house Saint Laurent has sparked outrage across the country. The poster campaign has caused fury on social media, and as a result, the country's advertising regulator has ordered the fashion house to take the posters down, having received scores of complaints. And finally, in a debate that's gone from office corridors to the UK Parliament, politicians have told employers to stop making women wear high heels as part of corporate dress codes. British MPs have debated a ban on mandatory workplace high heels in response to a petition started by a receptionist who was sent home without pay for wearing flat shoes.
British MPs are putting their foot down and sending this defiant message to companies. High heels should not be part of corporate dress codes.
Whether they wear high heels or not, it should be absolutely up to them, not to some outdated, dodgy 1970s workplace diktat.
A parliamentary inquiry has found evidence of, quote, widespread discrimination against women in the workplace, including threats of dismissal if they did not comply to dress codes and, in some cases, mandatory makeup.
It was specified that they should wear a minimum of foundation, powder, light blusher, I'm not sure whether that referred to the colour or the application, mascara, eyeshadow, and lipstick or tinted lip gloss.
In late 2015, Nicola Thorpe, a London receptionist, was given no pay leave for refusing to wear high heels. She launched an online petition last year, which garnered over 100,000 signatures, obliging British MPs to launch a debate in Parliament. And on the streets of London, many people agree that corporate dress codes need an overhaul.
I do think that if some women want to wear them, that's completely their choice. But I don't think it should be something that's obligatory.
I think if a company was to impose a requirement that women wear high heels for their work, that would be utterly abhorrent and wrong.
Nicola Thorpe says she discovered several incidents of workplace discrimination, including women of colour who were told their natural hair was deemed unprofessional. British MPs are now urging employers to review their sartorial standards.
And that's it for now. And if you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, you can head to our Facebook page. That's France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and please do keep those comments coming in. So until our next show, bye for now.